Hello everyone, good evening. This is Ankit from StudyIQ IAS. You're watching the English channel and today we are going to discuss the Indian Express analysis for 3rd of March. I hope every one of you is doing alright. Namaskar Doraemon, good evening Kaizen, good evening Jayesh, Ram Ram Deepak, Lydia, good evening, Saujanya, good evening, Sejal, Omkar, Amar, every one of you, hello and a very warm good evening from my side. I hope every one of you is doing alright. Now, without any further delay, let us start our today's discussion of the Indian Express analysis. And as you can see, I've taken 6 important articles from the newspaper. Some of them have been taken from previous day's newspaper because as you can understand, I was on a leave. That is why I was unable to address or take up important articles. But it is my professional obligation on my side towards you so that I do not miss out on any important articles. So in that regard, let us start our today's discussion with the topic of delimitation and the South. As it is widely expected that in the year 2026, the delimitation exercise will be taken up so as to increase the number of seats in both the Indian Parliament as well as state legislative assemblies. But on the other hand, this exercise has actually become a cause of concern for the states located in the southern part of the country, particularly Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Andhra and Telangana. Because as these states, they have witnessed control in their population levels. But on the other hand, this control in their population levels might go against the very process of delimitation, because delimitation primarily determines the amount of seats based on a state or an area's population. So that is why this particular topic is in news. So we'll take up in detail about what is the delimitation exercise and how this exercise might put states located in the southern part of the country at a disadvantage. Now, this kind of an article is important from GS paper 2 perspective, that is the Indian polity syllabus. Then we'll move on to discussing an important species in news, that is critically endangered ghadials. Now, ghadials are very similar to crocodile, but on the other hand, they are also very different. So we'll try to understand the various behavioral patterns, territories as well as the protection that is extended to these critically endangered species, and this becomes important from again our GS paper 3 syllabus, that is environment. Then we'll move on to discussing the new space telescope by NASA known as SpareX. What is actually the purpose of this SpareX we'll discuss in our today's discussion along with solving a practice question on this very topic. Then we'll move on to understanding the Gold Card program which was brought by the United States government in order to encourage movement of richer people into United States. Now earlier and in most countries you'll see that the visas are offered to mostly skilled and qualified personnel, right? But on the other hand, US has brought this Gold Card program which enables you to buy the green card of US, and again it will fast track or put you in a fast track mode in order to get the citizenship of US. So what are the provisions of Gold Card program, how it will benefit US, and will it actually benefit Indian citizen or not? We are going to understand this. This is primarily important from GS paper 2 perspective as it deals with particularly an immigration policy of a country located on the western hemisphere. Hence it is important from GS paper 2. Then we'll move on to understanding the quality of teaching, and why this quality of teaching is in news because of the ongoing debate about the 3 language policy that is a source of conflict between Union government and the government of Tamil Nadu. Union government wants states including Tamil Nadu to implement 3 language policy, that is one English, one local language which in Tamil Nadu's case is Tamil, and another language that they can adopt. But on the other hand, Tamil Nadu government, since last few decades they have been implementing not 3 language but 2 language policy. So we'll try to understand what is the cause of concern for Tamil Nadu, why is actually Tamil Nadu so against this 3 language policy, and what is the way forward. That is focus on providing teachings in multiple language necessary, or is focus on improving the teaching language in the existing levels. That should be the cause of concern for any government, right? Then we'll understand nuclear power in India, because this article appeared in the Indian Express newspaper written by a former chairman of the Atomic Energy Commission, Mr. Anil Kakodkar. Now he has highlighted that India, in order to become a Viksit Bharat, that is developed country by 27, needs to scale up the power generation from the nuclear sources. On the other hand, he has also highlighted the challenge that India might face in order to increase its nuclear power generation capacity. So we'll try to look this article into detail. We'll try to understand the challenges and also some kind of solutions that can be implemented by India in order to make itself a nuclear power nation, particularly using nuclear fuel to generate power and electricity, right? So this is the 6 articles that we are going to cover today. Last article is important primarily from the science and tech perspective, whereas the second last article is important from GS paper 2 perspective because it deals with education, which is a part of social sector, right? So these are the 6 articles and you know the drill. If you have forgotten in the last 2 days, let me remind you again. The notes for this session will be available on my Telegram channel, ATS Live. So either you can search the keywords ATS Live on the top right hand corner of your mobile app, or also you can scan this QR code. It will take you directly to my Telegram channel. Do not forget to subscribe to the Telegram channel so as to download the videos, and also in this very channel you have an option to upload your answers that you have written after the end of everyday session, and if you upload that answers before 8 p.m. every day, I will make sure to evaluate it, right? Now, please also do not forget to give us a thumbs up on YouTube, and also tell us in the comment section after this video end if you're liking this video or not, right? Because this process not just helps us keep motivated, but also, as we have seen from our experiences, that it helps our content reach more aspirants like you, right? And this we all want, okay? Now, this is the question that I'm going to take up today before the end of the session. Critically analyze India's nuclear energy roadmap with the target of achieving 100 gigawatt capacity by the year of 2047. This is the year where government has highlighted it wants to make India Vikasit Bharat, which in Hindi means develop India, right? Now, what are the key challenges and proposed solutions in expanding the nuclear power generation? And you have to write this answer in 250 words because this answer carries the weightage of 15 marks, right? Now, सौजन्य, सेजल, ओमकार, अमर, हेलो, दीपक, आप सबकी तैयारी कैसी चल रही है? दीपक, तुम्हारी तैयारी कैसी चल रही है? लेट मी नो. सारंग, आयुष, काइजन, आई एम गुड. काइजन, हाउ आर यू? शशांक, नमस्ते. नमस्कार शशांक. वॉइस प्रॉब्लम. इज माय वॉइस ऑल राइट एवरीवन? Vishwabrat, Yashi, Ashil, Baga Spinks, good evening. Now, let us move with the first article of the day. This article actually appeared in the Indian Express newspaper in many days. I've taken the screenshots of the articles that appeared in the Indian Express, but we are going to discuss overall the process of delimitation, right? Now, this process of delimitation, as I told you already, it is important from GS paper 2 perspective because it deals with the syllabus of Indian polity, right? So, let us discuss first of all the context of this article. Now, as the delimitation exercise is expected to happen in the year 2026, so as a result of which many southern states including Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana as well as Karnataka, they've expressed their apprehension of this process. And why? Because in this process the territorial division of the constituencies take place, and this basis of this division of the constituencies, the primary reason is the population, right? So this is the cause of concern, because if this exercise were to take place in 2026, it will put Indian southern states at a disadvantage. And to alleviate the cause of concern, the Union Home Minister Mr. Amit Shah has highlighted that southern states would not lose out even a single seat after delimitation. So actually this exercise has not started to happen right now. So what we can discuss in today's article is actually what is the process of delimitation, how it happens, which body is responsible for undertaking this delimitation, and how actually the southern states will be at a disadvantage, right? So let us try to understand this process of delimitation. Now, in the very basic meaning, delimitation is the process of redrawing of political constituencies, right? Both for the elections of parliament as well as for state legislature. Now, currently, if you see that the states, they have different kind of representations in the Lok Sabha. For example, if you see, Uttar Pradesh has 80 seats in Lok Sabha. Similarly, states like Bihar has 40 seats, West Bengal has 42 seats, whereas states like Maharashtra, they have 48 seats in the Lok Sabha. So this determination of seats on the, or per se, this determination of the seats per state is dependent on the factor of population. So higher is the population of a state, like UP has the highest population in India, that is why it has the highest amount of seats in the Lok Sabha. Similarly, you can adjust the number of seats of various states depending on their population levels. So if you see, even today, the representation of southern states in India's parliament compared to the northern states, they are quite low, because the population of southern states, they are lesser as compared to northern states. So this division of political boundaries as per the state is what the cause of concern is. Now you have to understand this also not just involves division of the political boundaries, but it also fixes the number of seats allocated to each state in Lok Sabhas and also in the state assemblies, right? As I told you, right, Uttar Pradesh has the highest population in India. So in Uttar Pradesh state legislative assemblies, there are 403 seats. Similarly, if you look at seats of states having lesser population, they'll have lesser seats as compared to the Uttar Pradesh. So this is the process of how you decide the number of seats of the very state in the parliament and state legislative assembly based on their population. Now the importance of delimitation and why we undertake this process is, first of all, you have to understand this process should reflect the population growth trends. As the current boundaries or the current amount of states or the amount of seats in different states, they represent the population levels of India in 1976. So in order to undertake the delimitation process, we have to make it reflect that India's population is actually being represented in the Indian legislatures, both parliament and state legislative assembly. And it also ensures that equal representation happens, because the process of delimitation not just ensures that the seats are divided, but it also ensures that every seat on an average has equal amount of voters. So this is the second reason why we undertake the delimitation process. And third, it tries to prevent the political imbalances. For example, if any district has higher amount of population as compared to adjoining districts, then that district will be bifurcated into different political constituencies. For example, if you see the bigger cities in our country like Mumbai, Kanpur, Lucknow, they have multiple seats, right? Similarly, like Delhi, as Delhi has 7 seats, Mumbai has multiple seats, so does Kanpur, Lucknow, because these cities have enormous population, whereas smaller cities, they only just have 1 Lok Sabha seat. So this is how the territorial constituencies are divided based on their population. So this is the entire process of what delimitation means. Yes, Deepak, Rajasthan has 25 seats. Namaskar, Doraemon. Sanjana, hello. Sanjana Nagda, Deepak Mali, mic problem. Is anyone else facing the mic problem or voice problem? Please let me know in the comments. From my end, it is showing that the voice levels are adequate. Now, let us understand the legal and constitutional basis for delimitation process. Now, the Article 82 of the Indian Constitution, it requires the Indian Parliament to revise the allocation of Lok Sabha seats among states after every census. Now, census is a decadal exercise which enumerates the population of India, and based on the population levels which is highlighted in the census, Article 82 of the Constitution says that the Parliament should revise the number of seats that it allocates to different states. So this is the theoretical reason why we should undertake the delimitation process. Similarly, Article 170 deals with the number of states in the respective state legislative assemblies. That state that the number of seats in the state legislative assembly must also be readjusted after every census. Now, to deal with the provisions of delimitation, there is a separate act which was made by the Parliament of India called as Delimitation Act. Now, this act was passed whenever delimitation is needed, and hence to undertake this process of delimitation, a separate independent body called as Delimitation Commission has been set up, right? Now, till date, since the time India got independent, you have understood many censuses have happened. But till date, only 4 delimitation commissions have been formed. That was in 1952, 1963, 73, as well as 2024. So, although the number of censuses after India got independent has been more than 4, but the delimitation commission and the process of delimitation has only happened 4. Please remember this fact. This is very important. Okay, Yashi, no voice problem. No problem. Thank you. Thank you to let me know. Now, let us understand how the Constitution has been amended to regulate the process of delimitation. Now, I told you, right, if you look at this article, it states that Article 82 requires the Parliament to redraw, revise the number of seats as per the different states based on every census. But actually, if you can see, more than 4 censuses have happened in India after India got independent, but till date only 4 delimitation commissions have been formed. So what is the actual reason before that? The actual reason is Constitutional Amendment Act. Now, 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act, it froze the number of Lok Sabha seats and the assembly seats until the year 2001 census, so as to encourage the population control. Now, in 1970s, you can see based on very different governmental policies, 5-year plans. The emphasis of the government at that time was to control the ever increasing population of India. And one of the measures that was seen in order to alleviate the cause of concerns of different state was that the government of India, through 42nd Amendment Act, it froze the number of seats in the parliament and the state legislative assembly. It said that we will not change the number of seats in the state legislative assembly and parliament based on the population, just to ensure that the states, they control the population. Further, this number of seats were frozen and it was extended until 2026 by the 84th Amendment Act of 2002. Now what you can remember is 42 multiplied by 2 is 84. So just remember 42nd Amendment Act and you can simply remember 84th Amendment Act. Now with 84th Amendment Act, the frozen in the number of seats of Lok Sabha and the assembly seats, it was extended until 2026. However, an provision was added in this amendment that you can redraw the constituencies while keeping the number of seats in both Lok Sabha and state legislative assemblies same. That is why a new delimitation commission was formed in 2004. It kept the seats in Lok Sabha and legislative assemblies as same. However, it redrew the constitution boundary. It just adjusted the boundaries of different constituencies while keeping the final number same. Okay, so this is how the process of delimitation was controlled by the various amendment of the constitution. Good evening, Kusum. Now, to undertake this process of delimitation, as you can understand, this is a very politically charged process, right? So you can't give this responsibility to the government, because eventually government is ruled by a political party. So if government was in charge of this particular exercise, naturally the political party in power will try to make maximum advantage out of this situation. So that is why, to undertake this process of delimitation of constituencies and readjustment of seats and allocating more seats to different states, this responsibility is given to an independent body known as Delimitation Commission. Now you have to understand, this is not a permanent, rather it is a temporary body which is set up just to ensure that the delimitation process is taken place. And this body comprises not of different government functionaries, rather a retired and working Supreme Court judge acts as the chairperson of this delimitation commission, and it includes the chief election commissioner of the government of India and the state election commissioners of the concerned state. So these people decide on how to divide the number of seats in the various states depending on the population. So this is what delimitation commission consists of. Now, the powers and functions of this commission is that it redraws the constituency boundary based on the latest census data. It allocates the seats among states and constituencies fairly based on, again, the population data. It consults various political parties and other stakeholders before finalizing the boundary, and the decisions made by this committee cannot be challenged in the court of law as per the provisions of Article 329. So is judicial review permitted for the decisions of the delimitation commission? The answer is incorrect. It is not permitted. Similarly, the delimitation commission orders or its report, it is laid down in the floor of the house, both in Indian Parliament and state legislative assembly. But also you have to ensure that the orders itself, they can't be amended by the parliament. So even the amendment of the order of the delimitation commission, it is not permitted by the parliament. So both judicial scrutiny as well as legislative scrutiny is kept out of this delimitation commission orders. Please remember that. The last delimitation commission was formed on 2002. No, it was formed on 2004. Now, what is the concern of southern states? Now, as you can understand, southern states like Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Karnataka, Andhra and Telangana, they fear that the delimitation exercise, which will happen on the latest census, it might reduce their respective representation in the Indian Parliament, because as you can see, this is the number which is expected in as per the latest delimitation commission. As you can see, the states like Uttar Pradesh, they have currently 80 number of seats, and if the delimitation exercise were to happen, the representation of Uttar Pradesh will increase from 80 to 143. Similarly, for Bihar, it will increase from 40 to 79. For Maharashtra, it will increase from 48 to 76. Bengal will increase from 42 to 60. On the other hand, if you see comparatively, the numbers for Karnataka, Andhra and Telangana combined, Tamil Nadu and Kerala are much lower. So that is why If such kind of an exercise were to happen in 2026, it will increase the number of seats of northern states by higher amount as compared to the southern states, because southern states have actually tried to control their population, and because of this the southern states feel actually aggrieved by this process. So this is the cause of concern, because population growth in southern states have been much lower than in northern states due to better economic growth, literacy, family planning policies, and other states like Uttar Pradesh, Bihar and Madhya Pradesh, they have experienced higher population growth, which could result into more seats for them at the cost of southern states. And this is a very natural grievances for the southern states. They do not want to be put at a disadvantage. So this is the entire issue, what it is all about, right? Now let's see if we can solve this question. Now, which of the following statements regarding the delimitation in India is or are correct? Now the first statement, delimitation has been conducted in India after every census to adjust the number of Lok Sabha and state legislative assembly seats based on the population changes. Now if you can read the statement clearly, has it occurred after every census? The answer is no, it has occurred only 4 times till now. So first statement becomes incorrect. Second statement, the Delimitation Commission is an independent body responsible for redrawing the constituency boundaries. This is straightforward, correct statement. And the 42nd constitutional amendment, it extended the freeze on the number of seats in Lok Sabha and legislative assemblies until 2026. Was it 42nd? No, it was 84th Amendment Act. 42nd froze until 2001. Whereas 84th extended it until 2026. So therefore third statement again becomes incorrect, or it is factually incorrect. Now first and third are incorrect, only second is right, and we have to identify correct answer here. Therefore option B here is the right answer. Yashi, Baga, Omkar, you're right. Rohit, please read the question again. Lydia, you're right. Sarang, 2 only. Yes, you're correct. Ashil, you're also right. Sir, who ensures that committee stays free and corruption free? Where actually see the members of this committee. They are actually not the representatives of the government, but they are representatives of Judiciary, Election Commission and the State Election Commission. So that is why these are independent people. These are not directly appointed by the government, and they are not responsible to the government. They are not secretaries of the government of India, nor they are members of any political party. That is how we ensure that this committee stays fair and corruption free. Understood, Baga? Yes, Rohit, you're also right. Option B is correct. Yes, Deepak, 42nd Amendment, 1976. Now let us move to the next article of the day. This article appeared in the explain section of the Indian Express, and it talks about a critically endangered species known as ghadial. Now the ghadial was in news because the Madhya Pradesh Chief Minister Mr. Mohan Lal Yadav, he actually released 10 ghadials, which is a critically endangered species, into the Chambal River at the National Chambal Ghadial Sanctuary located in Morena district of Madhya Pradesh. Now Madhya Pradesh has been declared or has taken a decades-long conservation effort so as to control the population levels of ghadials, and it hosts over 80% of India's ghadial population. So this is the context of this news. Now what becomes important if any species is in news from a prelims perspective? Is their behavioral traits, is their physiological traits, is their location and their protection status, right? So in that regard, let us try to understand distinctive features about the ghadials. Now they have long narrow snout which is interlocked with sharp teeth, and this is adapted for catching fish. So if you can see the image of ghadial, it is very different from crocodile. Crocodile has a thick snout, whereas ghadial has a long and narrow snout. Understood from this image? Is it clear? And this narrow snout has teeth which enables the ghadial to catch fishes, right? Also, there is bulbous snout tip on particularly male ghadial, and this is used to make sound production and courtship displays. So this is one of the behavioral traits of ghadial. This was one of the food catching traits. This is a behavioral trait. Now the ghadials, they have webbed feet and weak legs, making them excellent swimmers, but when it comes to walking on the ground, they are very poor walkers. Also, these ghadials, they are involved in communal nesting, that many females, they lay eggs in the same area, just like the Aribada nesting of the olive redley turtles. Similarly, the parental care is very prominent in ghadial. Unlike crocodiles, these ghadials, they do not carry hatchlings in their mouths, but they guard them after hatchlings. So this is the distinctive features of ghadial, how it makes them different from other crocodile species like alligator and crocodiles. Okay. Now, in terms of size and characteristics, the males, they can grow as much as the size or length of 6 meters, which is huge, and they weigh about 160 to 250 kilograms. As well as females are concerned, they're relatively smaller, growing up to 2.6 to 4.5 meters, whereas in number of teeth, they have about 110 teeth, sorry, which is designed to grip slippery species. Also, the distribution of these ghadial, they are found in India, Nepal and parts of Bangladesh, whereas the preferred habitats, it is actually a freshwater river in any water body which has fresh water. And also they have deep pools, sandy banks and slow moving currents. In these kind of water bodies, you'll eventually find the ghadials. Now, in terms of ecological roles, you can understand they are primarily fish eating in nature, and that is why they also help clean up the river levels. And in terms of cultural significance, also ghadials are very important, especially for the Hindu religion, because they are depicted as a divine mount of the goddess Ganga, and that is why they are quite culturally significant. Now, in terms of conservation status or their protection status, you have to understand ghadials, they are categorized as critically endangered. Also, in terms of Wildlife Protection Act, they are extended the protection under Schedule 1, which makes them the most protected, among the most protected species in India, similar to tigers, right? So therefore, hunting, catching of these ghadials, they are prohibited by law. Now, why is actually ghadial conservation needed? You have to understand that between 1950s and 60s, more than 80% of decline in population of ghadials were witnessed, and the historical threat to their existence is actually overhunting for their skins, trophies, eggs, as well as use of their meat and other excretas to make traditional medicine. Also, in terms of modern day challenges, what we have seen that habitat destruction due to dam construction, irrigation canal, embankment also endanger the population, in addition to siltation and sand mining, which disrupts their nesting sites, and the pollution and the river course changes. It alters the way they can live in a particular water body. So these are the some of threats that the ghadials they eventually face. Now, coming back to the major protected areas that has the presence of ghadial, naturally you'll see the most number of protected areas are located in Madhya Pradesh, which houses about 80% of the population. So natural Chambal Sanctuary in Madhya Pradesh, which extends also to Rajasthan and Uttar Pradesh, it has large population of the ghadials, followed by Katarni Ghat Sanctuary, which is in Uttar Pradesh, Son River Sanctuary in Madhya Pradesh, and Satkosia Gorge Sanctuary, which is located in Odisha. Now, Madhya Pradesh, as I have already told you, hosts over 80% of the ghadial population in India, and this state has also been given the title of ghadial state, which is due to its efforts in the conservation of ghadial population. Now, let's solve this question. Which of the following statements regarding ghadial is or are correct? The ghadials, they have well adapted for swimming due to their web feet and streamlined bodies, but are poor walkers on the land, which we understood is a correct statement and also a very straightforward one. Unlike crocodiles, male ghadials, they carry hatchlings in their mouths for their protection after they hatch. Now, do you think the male ghadials, they can carry the hatchlings in their mouths unlike crocodiles? No, this statement is wrongly framed. That is why it is incorrect. Now, ghadials are primarily found in saltwater estuaries and mangrove swamps in India and Nepal. Now, what did I tell you about the primary habitat of ghadials? They are found in freshwater bodies, right? And they are not found in brackish or salt waters, right? So that is why third statement becomes incorrect. Now, as you can see, first is right, second and third are incorrect, and we have to identify correct answer. Therefore, option A here is the right answer. Baga, Spinks, Ashil, Rohit, Lydia, Rohit Kumar. Yes, you all are right. Yashi, you're also right. Now, moving on to the next article. This article also appeared in the Indian Express newspaper, and it talks about NASA's new space telescope that is known as the SpareX. Now, this SpareX, it is stated to be launched tomorrow aboard a Falcon X spacecraft, and it is a NASA's project, which is a full form for spectrophotometer for the history of universe, epoch of reionization and ice explorer. It is a mega telescope designed to scan over 450 million galaxies. So in this regard, let us try to understand how this telescope can actually scan galaxies and what are its significance, right? Now, the launch, it is expected to happen on board the SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket, which will take place from the Vandenberg Space Air Force Base located in the state of California in United States. Now, the aim of this mission is to uncover the clues of the origins of life, cosmic history, and also the early universe. And the duration of this mission is about 2 years, and the technological and innovation that is expected to take place over this telescope is that it will use advanced spectroscopy and imaging techniques, which has been adopted from many satellites. Now, with advanced spectroscopy and imaging technologies, it can actually scan the larger portion of the universes in better resolution, right? Much like your improved mobile cameras, only much better than that. Okay. Now, the mission goals. First of all, you have to understand the purpose of this telescope is to understand the universe's evolution. So for that, it will investigate the dusty stellar clouds and study cosmic events right from the event of Big Bang, which happened over about 10 billion years ago. Now, the observatory, what it will do is that it will map the entire sky once every 6 months in optical and near infrared wavelength, which will help it to capture the detailed data from both nearby as well as distant galaxies. So when it captures the data with a time lag of 6 months, so it can understand the changes that can happen in the universe in the period of 6 months, right? So that is how it will study the universe. Now, also what it will do is, well, that it will create a detailed sky map of the entire universe, and this will create a colorful 3D map of sky using the data from its infrared color bands, and the level of the detail that it will create has been unmatched and never has been achieved before by any space telescope. So that is why in terms of capabilities it is significantly better than the existing space telescopes. Now, the spectroscopically rich map which it will create will help scientists first of all identify the distribution of key life forming molecules in the universe. It will help us understand how the galaxies has evolved over a billion of years, and also help improve the models of planetary formation. So understanding how the universe has evolved over the billions of years will help scientists understand how it will change in the next billion years. So accordingly, the scientists will create a map and then study this map in order to study the origins of life, and how, if the life were to be translocated from Earth to any other planet, which kind of a planet is better suited for human life, right? Also, it will help us search for origins of life. As I told you, it will analyze key chemical components that are essential for life, such as presence of water, oxygen, carbon dioxide, and other molecules like proteins that may have played a role in the formation of planets and life. So once we can understand how these compounds come to be existing on Earth, we have to understand the conditions that were created on Earth before even the life was formed. So if such conditions are created on any other planet, we can estimate it, and we can understand that in coming time that particular planet can support the human life. Okay, so it will focus on stellar nurseries. Stellar nurseries are what? It are regions which are abundant in gases where the new stars are formed, right? And as well as disks around the stars that might host developing planetary system. Just like that Saturn has disk, right? It is a disk made up of gases. Similarly, if such disk happen to form over any other planet, the mission will try to ascertain whether or not humans can be settled in that disk. Okay. Also, it will help mapping the ice of the molecular clouds, as it will focus on molecular clouds which are dense regions or space filled with thick interstellar dust grains where planets and stars eventually formed, and therefore it will help in understanding the molecular clouds. Understood? What is it all about? Let me change this here. Okay. Now, everyone, please solve this question very quickly. Which of the following statements regarding NASA's SpareX mission is or are correct? The SpareX will create the most detailed 3D sky map ever using the data from over 100 infrared color bands. Is the first statement right? Yes, it is correct. Straightforward. The mission aims to study cosmic events that occurred within a few million years after the Big Bang. Now, this is also correct. The SpareX will analyze the key chemical components such as water, oxygen, carbon dioxide to study the origins of life. Now, is the third statement right? Yes, it is right. Now, as you can see, all these three statements are correct. Therefore, the correct answer of this question is option D. Both, all 1, 2 and 3 are correct. Now, nobody replied to it. I'm surprised, frankly. Now, let me tell you, if you are struggling to understand the key statics portions of the UPSC syllabus, we at StudyIQ have a solution for you, and that solution is called as Sampoon. Sampoon if you translate it in English, it means complete. So in Sampoorn batches, what we are offering is complete coverage of an aspirant's requirement from prelims to interview. So for prelims and mains, you need to understand the various important subjects such as polity, economy, society, science and tech, everything, and every of these lectures will be covered in our P2I batches. In addition to that, we will also provide you with 18 booklets that will help you cover the static portion of the syllabus. To test your understanding, we will provide you with prelims test series, main test series, and using that you can gauge the level of preparation. And in case between this, if you feel any doubt, if you feel any problem is there regarding motivation, regarding studies, you always have an option to contact a dedicated mentor who will provide you with guidance 24/7, right? And all of this is provided at a very reasonable price. And let me tell you how to avail the benefits of these courses. Now, suppose you open the StudyIQ website. It might look like this. You have to create an account here first. Now, if you create an account, click on Explore Courses. When you go to Explore Courses, you will have an option to enroll specifically for an English only batch, because we understand not every student might be comfortable in English, and it is quite okay. So if you want to enroll yourself to an English batch, click on the Foundation 2026 Sampoorn batch. And the prices for this batch is expected to increase after 6th March. So please hurry up if you want to register for this courses. Click on this. Now you will be seeing that the price is currently at 37,499, right? But let me tell you a way if you can get discounts on this price also. Now you might be seeing a ticker that is flashing on the bottom half of your screen, right? It says use the code ATS Live for maximum discounts on our StudyIQ website. So click on buy now here. And there is an option for you to add promo code. Now click on add promo code, enter the coupon code ATS Live, exactly the code which is available on the bottom half of your screen. Click on apply and see from 37,499 the value of the course now, or the price of the course now has reduced to 29,999, which is a discount of about 7,500 rupees. Now I understand 7,500 rupees is a huge amount of money which you can productively use for any of your other requirements. So please save this kind of money by registering courses on our website using the code ATS Live. Okay, I hope I have made this very clear. So let us move to the next session or the next article of the day. This article, as you can see, let me readjust this mic. Yes. Now this article also appeared in the Indian Express newspaper, and as you can see, it highlights about Trump's gold card program. Now the President Trump has announced a new visa initiative. If you want to become a green card holder of the US, you can buy your way into the US using the gold card program. So in this regard, let us try to understand the various provisions of this program and how it tries to, or it allows people to buy the green card of the United States. Now here you are given an option, just provide $5 million to US government, and US government will allow you with an option to get a green card. Now this is a fast track green card process, as it will grant the green card privileges immediately to a person, rather than that they are currently in a line that after they have resided in the US for some total of many years, they have worked in the US, they have high qualifications, high commitment to the US, then only they are awarded the green card. But rather, using the usual route, you also have an option to enroll and buy the green card by paying up $5 million to the United States government. Now it is set to replace the EB-5 immigrant investor visa scheme, which was introduced in 1990s. Now this provided, or it granted, the green cards to the foreign investors in the US who invested at least $1.05 million. In some areas this is about 800,000 US dollars, and this was provided to US businesses who at least create at least 10 jobs, right? So the qualification earlier was both investment and job creation. Now it has just made a fee based green card program that just provide US government $5 million and you can buy the green card program. Understood? Now how this move will actually benefit US? First of all, it will increase the levels of investment in US economy, as high net worth individuals, when they get the green cards of US, they can invest in real estate, invest in luxury market and businesses in US, and that will create new investments in the US economy. Further, it will simplify the altogether an immigration process. It eliminates job creation requirement and also reduces the control over bureaucracy in extending the green cards to the many newer citizens. Also, it reduces the fraud risk, since the EB-5 program, it was accused that it was not a straightforward, rather it was filled with many frauds, and people just by paying bribes they can get the green card. Now this has been entirely done away with. It is straightforward, given an option that provide us with $5 million and we will grant you the green card of US, right? Now let us understand whether this program will benefit Indians or not, right? Now in financial year 2023, I have to understand 631 Indians, they received green cards through the EB5 program despite its much lower investment requirement. So now the investment requirement in EB5 program was $1.05 million. Now it has increased about 5 times. So given the higher number of cost which is associated with this green card program, which is more in Indian currency, which is more than 43 crore rupees, it is expected that many Indian investors will be attracted, but they are unlikely to be as high as 631 Indians. Understood? So it will benefit high net worth Indian people, but the number of people that might be benefited will be lower than the earlier years number of people who were granted the green card. Okay. Sir, space tech hard or soft power in geopolitics? Well, it depends. If the space tech is on technology or in providing satellite based services, this is a soft power. But if that's space tech is used for any military purposes, that is a hard power in geopolitics. Understood the difference? Yes, Deepak, all statements are right. Sejal, Yashi, Ashil, Lydia, all of you are right as per the last answer. Now solve this question. The term gold card recently seen in the news is referred to what? Is it a premium banking card offered by the global financial institutions for high net worth institutional? What are the correct option? Please let me know in the comment section. Let me get away with this so you can read the statements clearly. Now let us move to the next article of the day. Yes, Sarang, you're right. Option B is correct. Now let us move to the next article of the day. This article appeared in the op-ed section of the Indian Express newspaper and it is written by Mr. Krishna Kumar, who is an expert in the field of education. Now his article, he emphasized that although the controversy nowadays has been on the 3-language policy between the union government and Tamil Nadu, where union government wants state governments to implement this 3-language policy and the Tamil Nadu government is resisting it, this article highlights that not the number of languages that are taught in our schools, but rather the quality of education is what it is more important in India, right? So in this regard, let us first understand how the language or the issue of language was perceived in post-independent India. Now, at the time India got independent, you can understand India witnessed a very painful memory of partition, which divided the united India into different countries. That is India, which is a secular country in the center, whereas on its both eastern and western flank there was this Islamic nation of Pakistan, right? So the intention of the policy makers at the time India got independent, the first intention was by somehow unite the population of India, and in that regard language was seen as one of the method to unite the diverse section of Indian population. As you can understand, India is a language or is a nation with many languages, so you need one language so as to unite the entire culture and the population of a country. But this initiative of the government to unite people based on the language, it faced many resistance, because if you look at the debates of the Constituent Assembly which was going on at the time in order to frame the Constitution of India, there was this debate on whether or not we should appoint Hindi as the national language, because Hindi, in terms of, as most of the people back then were speaking Hindi, so it was seen as the most better alternative if you were to make any language as the national language. But you can understand Hindi has many dialects like Rajasthani, like Bhojpuri. So in terms of its dialectical differences and also with respect to regional controversies, the designation of Hindi as a national language, it could not happen. So what was done, that the official language of the country was fixed, Hindi was made the official language, and in order to bridge the gap, English was designated as the associate official language of India. So that is how one language could not be designated as the national language of the country, because of many opposition both by the dialects of Hindi as well as the regional opposition by different languages. So in that regard, what policymakers thought, that instead of making language as a pivot of a nationality or of learning, rather language was seen primarily as a medium of instruction. Okay, so that is how the language policy of India evolved after India got independence, that language was only seen as an instruction of medium of teaching in the schools. Now to formulate the government of India encouraged three language formula, that Hindi and English will be taught, and in order for other states they can also use any of their languages, right? But this three language formula witnessed many protests and apprehensions primarily from the southern states, and the leading among this was the Tamil Nadu, as they fear that by imposing a three language policy, government was actually trying to impose Hindi on the languages, or a Hindi as an official language with the state which is not a native Hindi speaker like Tamil Nadu, right? And also there was this anti-Hindi agitation which was quite prominent in Tamil Nadu in 1960s. So because of all these factors, that is Tamil people and political parties, they perceived this move by the government of India to implement three language policy as a method to impose Hindi on them, and that is why Hindi or inclusion of a three language policy in Tamil Nadu faced historical opposition. Also, there was this lack of reciprocity in the Hindi belt, as three language formula in spirit was not applicable in Hindi states, as there were not any instances of any Hindi speaking states adopting Telugu, Kannada, Tamil or even Malayalam as their own third language in the state, and even languages like Punjabis have not been adopted in the Hindi language. So it was quite natural for southern states to feel that when we are demanded to implement Hindi, why aren't the Hindi speaking states implementing any of our languages? So it is quite a natural problem that they had. Also, because of this three language policy, it faced continued resistance in Tamil Nadu, and given this concern, it is highly unlikely that Tamil Nadu will adopt three language policy in the coming future. So in this regard, this article highlights actually is not on the number of languages that are taught in the schools, but rather quality of the teaching is what matters in India. Because first of all, this article highlights there is an issue of poor teaching standards. Even if you look at English teaching education levels in many southern states like Andhra Pradesh, there are several states who have introduced English language from early grades, but the teacher proficiency in these languages are low. So as teachers proficiency are low, naturally the levels of education are not quite high. So that is why it says not that the quantity of language matters, that it does not matter whether if you are teaching three languages or two languages, rather what you should ensure that the quality of teaching improves, not quantity. Okay. And also Hindi and other Indian languages, they also suffer that Hindi is treated more as a cultural symbol, not as a functional language. So whenever government is trying to implement Hindi in another state, it is seen as a cultural imposition and not as a method of teaching or a language. Rather, this is also what we have witnessed, that in terms of any language that has been taught in the states, there is a trend that is declining reading habits, as schools they fail to create or inculcate the culture of learning of the languages. They do not advise students to learn anything which is beyond their curriculum, that the students, they are not encouraged to read novels or literatures which is way beyond the school courses, and also therefore there is a need for better training, teacher training and the curricular reform, which will introduce more critical analysis or critically the use of languages. First of all, you have to make teachers much more proficient in English and even their regional languages, and also you have to imbibe in the curriculum that the students, they are encouraged to read more literature so as to get a better command over the language, right? So this is what this article was talking about, that not the number of languages, rather the quality of teaching that could have been improved. Now let us move to the last article of the day. This article is actually written by a former chairperson of the Atomic Energy Commission, Mr. Anil Kakotkar, who is an expert in the field of nuclear energy. Sir, we speak broken English in Northeast. Okay, Deepak Mali, I have B.Ed degree. Ask, interview this three language. Bhagat Singh sir, Karnataka, Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu has highest English speaking population. See, in my experience, I've traveled extensively to these states, particularly in southern states. I've seen people in Kerala, Tamil Nadu, they have a functional knowledge of English, which is sufficient for them to function. Even if a person like an auto driver, if he or she can't converse properly in English, they will understand when you're talking about money. And this article also highlights that it is not the number of languages that you should focus upon. Rather, if you're even teaching two or one languages in a state, you should focus on quality teaching. Okay. Now let us talk about the last article of the day. This article is written by a former chairperson of the Atomic Energy Commission, and he has said that India has set an ambitious target to increase the use of nuclear power to generate power in India, and this is to develop a capacity of about 100 gigawatts by the year 2047, which is a significant leap from current generation capacity of 8.2 gigawatt. Now, this article highlights that it is good that government has recognized the potential of nuclear energy, so as nuclear energy will eventually power India into becoming a developed country by 2047. But he says that especially this is not as easy as it sounds, because there is no clarity on how this target will be achieved, but it is actually a bare minimum that India should do in order to make itself a developed country by 2047. Now, this article also provided us with the information on the India's three-stage nuclear program. Now, before understanding any development regarding India's nuclear program, we have to first very quickly understand how India looks at a nuclear energy option in order to generate power. Now, you can understand, to generate nuclear power, you need raw materials like the nuclear fuel of uranium or plutonium. But the reserves of uranium and plutonium in India are not sufficient. So, therefore, we are required to import these fuels from other countries like Canada, Kazakhstan, Australia, etc. Right? So, in order to do away with the need of import and also to use thorium, which is abundant in India, to generate nuclear energy, the Indian policymakers, led by the legendary Homi Bhabha, they designed a three-stage nuclear program. Now, in this three-stage nuclear program, what was originally envisaged that the natural uranium mined from Indian mines, they will be used to power the pressurized heavy water reactors, which will generate the plutonium, which can be used to fuel the fast breeder reactors, and these fast breeder reactors will generate additional plutonium, which can use to fuel the next fast breeder reactors, and also the thorium, it can be introduced in second stage, which will eventually power the fuel breeders in the third stage of nuclear reactor. So the entire purpose of this three-stage nuclear power process was to use the thorium, which was abundant in India, and reduce India's dependence on imports of natural uranium as well as plutonium. Understood? So this is the very basics of the three-stage nuclear power. Now, let us understand the prevalence of nuclear energy in our India's current context. Now, as you can see from this slide, the installed capacity of India currently is about 7 gigawatt as of 2024, as well as in the number of nuclear reactors that are operational in India are about 22 reactors, and the kind of reactors that India has, they are heavily reliant on importing uranium due to the limited domestic reserve. Also, the technology used to generate nuclear power right now is in the first stage, that is, we have primarily the pressurized heavy water reactors, and we are trying to build the fueled or fast breeder reactors. However, this technology is still in nascent stage. Now, when it comes to the third stage, this has not happened right now. So technically we are very solidly in the first stage, and it is expected that the second stage will be developed in the next decade or so, right? So in this, you can see that the technology levels is pressurized heavy water reactors, they dominate India, whereas the fast breeder reactors, they are under development. And the target of the government, according to this article, has been to generate about 100 gigawatt of electricity by the nuclear fuel by the 2047 as a part of its Viksit Bharat vision, right? So this is the target levels of the government. This is the current technology, which is dependent primarily on the first stage of nuclear power development, pressurized heavy water reactor, and to meet the requirements of the fuel, we are dependent on imports from various countries to import plutonium as well as uranium, right? Now, in this regard, this article also highlights that India's nuclear power sector faces many challenges. First is the high demand for uranium. This article highlights that if you are to generate about 100 gigawatt of electricity by 2047, for that you will be requiring about 18,000 tons of uranium annually. But currently, as you can understand, in order to get uranium, you are dependent on imports from countries like Canada, Kazakhstan, as well as Australia, right? So when you're dependent on imports, so you can't make self-sufficiency as far as generation of the power is concerned from the traditional sources, and therefore you need to develop higher and better technology, that is move on to fast breeder reactors and the thorium powered reactors. But when it comes to development of fast breeder reactors, which is the second stage of our nuclear program, there have been delays in adoption and working of the fast breeder reactors, as it was envisaged that a 500 megawatt power of fast breeder reactor would be set up, but this setup has been significantly delayed, and therefore thorium utilization has faced many bottlenecks, because as we can understand, we have significant reserves of thorium, but when we have not developed the third stage of nuclear power program, how you can utilize this thorium, it is a big question. Also, there are many infrastructure and manufacturing gaps in India, because currently even to install the pressurized heavy water reactors, there are no big Indian companies. So what we are dependent here again on imports of various technologies and equipments from different countries in order to meet our power generation requirement. And also public and regulatory hurdles are very prominent in India, because first of all, as we have seen in the Kudunkulam nuclear reactor in Tamil Nadu, the setting up of nuclear reactor faced many resistance from the local people, because these local people were afraid that this nuclear reactor, it posed danger to their life and livelihood. So that is why the public itself is very apprehensive of this technology, and also there are regulatory hurdle that creates many delays in the construction of the nuclear power program. As we have told you already, land acquisition is a big problem in India, and for nuclear reactors you require large portion of land, and this witnesses several delays. So these are the challenges that India faces in order to increase its dependence on nuclear reactor. That first of all, we require higher supplies of uranium. For that we are dependent on imports, and we have to utilize our reserves of thorium. We need our program to get into third stage. However, our program has still not reached the second stage itself. Further, there are many infrastructure and manufacturing gaps, as India is currently dependent on equipments from abroad, and also setting up of these nuclear power plants faces many public as well as regulatory hurdle. So in that regard, today's article also gives us many solutions. First of all is that we need to have a fuel supply security. For that, we need to increase the mining from our domestic sources. We also need to secure long-term supply contracts from other countries, so that to ensure that India gets a steady supply of nuclear fuel unless we depend entirely on our own thorium. Also, we need to increase the development of fast breeder and recycling acceleration. First of all, we need to increase the recycling of existing fuels and develop technologies for it, and also fast track the setting up of the fast breeder reactor. Also, we need to undertake developments in infrastructure and indigenous manufacturing. Particularly, there is a more debate on whether or not we can start developing the small modular reactors ourselves, which will do away with the many hurdles that the traditional nuclear power plants face. Also, the smart modular reactors, as the name suggests, they are modular, so they can be deployed as per the need. We do not need to set up big power plants in any region. Also, what the government can do is increase the levels of public awareness. It can take many information, education and communication program, which will tell people actually that this green energy is quite safe as well as non-carbon emitting in nature. So with respite or good regulatory clearances, we can actually provide for a safe power plant, which will not just provide people with cheap electricity, but it will also create more avenues for employment for the local people. Also, we need to extend policy and financial support. We need to give more money in R&D to both government agencies and to private sector. We need to reduce or increase the ease of doing business in the sector, as I've already highlighted in my previous sessions, that the Civil Nuclear Liability Act, it provides liability even for the equipment supplier, and for that the foreign companies, they are quite apprehensive in investing in India. So if we reduce the regulatory burden on the companies, it will encourage more foreign investment in India, right? So these are the suggestions that can be inculcated in order to drive India towards a more nuclear power dominated country by 2047. Understood? Now, please try to solve this question. Please let me know the question, and please submit the questions on the Telegram group. This is the Telegram group where you can submit the question, and if you want this question to be evaluated by me, please make sure to submit this question and the answer by 8 p.m. itself. Now you can get the further points for this particular question based on the discussion that I've made. I've introduced the targets, I've used the current technology, I've used the diagram also to explain you the third stage nuclear reactor, but please focus on the question more on the key challenges and the proposed solution, as this is what is actually required in this answer, right? Now this is the homework for you today. This actually is the question that appeared in the last year's prelims. So this asks you how many delimitation commission has been constituted up till December 2023. Please let me know in the comments after this video and the correct answer to this question. If you still haven't, please do not forget to give us a thumbs up for this video, as it helps us keep motivated. I'll see you again tomorrow at 4 p.m. Until then, please revise, reread the articles and the session, and do not forget to attempt the answer. I'll see you again. Please have a very good evening.